Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. And now, max out your savings. The more you buy, the more you save on beds, bases, and more. Plus, get free home delivery on any smart bed with base. Limited time. Check it out at a Sleep Number store near you or at sleepnumber.com today.
This holiday, give the gift that says, let's cancel plans and just lounge. MeUndies has dropped their new holiday collection, and it's made for maximum cozy. We're talking soft as snow ultramodal fabric, festive prints, and loungewear so comfy your couch might get jealous. Onesies, hoodies, joggers, even delightfully quirky holiday designs. You're welcome. Knock out all your holiday gifting needs with deals up to 60% off at MeUndies.com/ACAST. Enter promo code ACAST. That's MeUndies.com/ACAST. Code ACAST.
Why does every recipe I try need 18 ingredients, including a jar of something paste I'll never use again, but will sit in my fridge for 9 months? I just want dinner in the oven, fast. That's why I love Blue Apron's new one-pan assemble and bake meals. They send you fresh ingredients that are already chopped. All you do is put it all together and bake. That's it. No chopping, no weird leftovers, just delicious, easy-to-make meals. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Hello, I'm Sarah, and welcome to the Whispering Woods After Dark. I've got one long story, and this is from a time of the Satanic Panic. And I chose this story because I thought it was really interesting to kind of try and see, I mean, I was a child at the time this happened, to try and see how it got to the point it did, where lots of murders were deemed satanic. It seems in the distant past now, but am I alone in thinking that we could see this kind of thing start up again? Because there's just something in the air. I hope you know what I mean by that. It's like where we're all going a little bit crazy. Anyway, let's get into it. Are you ready for the story? A warm September afternoon in 1972 turned into a nightmare in Springfield, New Jersey. A local dog trotted out of the woods and onto a neighbour's lawn, carrying what looked like an old stick. As the dog's owner drew closer, she realised with horror it was a human forearm, badly decomposed. Panicked calls to the police followed. Officers arrived and were led to the grisly prize the pet had dropped. Within hours, on September the 19th, 1972, a search party combing the nearby woods of the Hoodale Quarry, a sprawling tract of forest and rocky cliffs, made a heartbreaking discovery. Atop a steep 40-foot embankment, ominously nicknamed the Devil's Teeth by locals, they found the rest of a human body, lying face down in a small clearing. The remains were so decomposed as to be unrecognisable, but they were fully clothed and appeared to be a teenage girl. 6 weeks earlier, 16-year-old Jeannette DePalma had vanished from her home in Springfield, and now, by the cliff's edge, the worst fears of her family and the community were confirmed. Investigators had to haul the body down carefully. The terrain was so treacherous that firefighters used an aerial ladder truck to help retrieve Jeannette's remains from the cliff. The corpse was in an advanced state of decay after weeks exposed to summer heat. Dental records soon identified the body as Jeannette DePalma, the Springfield teenager who had been reported missing on August the 7th. Jeannette had told her mother she was taking a train to visit a friend that day, but she never arrived. For over a month, her family searched and hoped, only to now face a devastating reality. Jeannette's remains were found, lying face down with a rock formation surrounding her body, according to the Union County Medical Examiner, Bernard Ehrenberg. Her right arm was missing from the elbow down, carried off by the dog, and much of the rest of her body had deteriorated badly. The decomposition was so severe that Dr. Ehrenberg could not perform a full autopsy. The tissue damage rendered internal examination impossible. Accordingly, no definitive cause of death could be determined. In official terms, Jeannette's demise was classified not as a clear homicide, but as a suspicious death, reflecting that foul play was strongly suspected but unproven. Even without a definitive cause, there were clues that suggested Jeannette had met a violent end. Her bones showed no bullet holes, knife wounds or fractures, no obvious sign of shooting, stabbing or blunt trauma. Toxicology tests were hampered by the body's condition, but no drug paraphernalia was found with the remains, and Jeannette wasn't known to use hard drugs. In fact, the coroner noted one possibility: strangulation. There were no marks left to prove it, but nothing else explained her death. So Ehrenberg privately suspected strangling as the cause. The tentative view led Union County investigators to handle Jeannette's case as a likely homicide from the start. Indeed, to her distraught family and friends, it was unthinkable that the kind, church-going girl simply died by accident out there. Somewhere in those woods, they believed, a killer might have been lurking. Springfield police began a full investigation, but what they encountered at the scene on the Devil's Teeth would soon send the case spiralling into bizarre territory. When Jeannette's remains were found on that rocky cliff-top clearing, several officers and onlookers noticed something odd about how things were arranged. According to some early witness accounts, logs and branches lay in a strange pattern around the body, almost like a crude perimeter. Some later said the larger, fallen branches formed the shape of a coffin, and that small makeshift wooden crosses had been planted in the earth around Jeannette's remains, as if the place had been staged or ritualized. Before long, the whispers began. Was this a witchcraft or satanic ritual? The location's local nickname, the Devil's Teeth, suddenly took on an eerie significance, and the discovery of a dead teenager there seemed almost the fulfillment of the dark name. Within days of the body's recovery, rumours spread like wildfire through Springfield that Jeannette DePalma had been killed in some kind of occult sacrifice. Local newspapers pounced on the sensational angle. By early October 1972, lurid headlines hit the newsstands. Murder Probe sheds light on witchcraft cult, led one. And was girl sacrificed in witch rite, screamed another. The press reported that police investigators indeed found disturbing signs at the scene, sticks arranged in the shape of crosses around the corpse, and logs laid out in a coffin-like outline encircling Jeannette's body. According to these reports, even the authorities thought the setup might be related to the occult. In an interview with the New York Daily News on October the 4th, a local pastor added fuel to the fire. Reverend James Tate, who was the minister at the DePalma family's evangelical church, told reporters he believed Jeannette had been targeted by Satanists because of her faith. She was a devout Christian, he explained, so religious that she would often talk to friends and acquaintances about God. Tate theorised that Jeannette might have tried to preach to a group of devil worshippers, and that their fanaticism arose and they killed her. It was pure speculation, as Tate admitted, but his status as a clergyman gave the dramatic story legs. Soon it wasn't just Springfield abuzz with the talk of black magic and human sacrifice. Neighbouring towns throughout Union County were on edge. This was a community primed to panic. Less than a year earlier, New Jersey had been shocked by the case of John List, the quiet Westfield accountant who methodically murdered his wife, mother, and 3 children in their home, and then disappeared. That 1971 family massacre left Union County residents badly shaken. Now, 10 months later, the gruesome mystery on the Devil's Teeth cliff reawakened every fear. Was there another monster in their midst, one who preyed on teenagers in some demonic rite? Police were inundated with tips and local lore. Some Springfield old-timers spoke about a witch's coven said to operate in the nearby Watchung Reservation woods. Tales circulated of kids holding seances in hidden clearings, of small animals found slaughtered in ritual fashion around the county. All in the middle of the media frenzy, investigators tried to follow every lead, however strange. Incredibly, one report suggested that police even enlisted a self-proclaimed witch to examine the site for any paranormal clues. Springfield's police chief at the time, George Parcell, later said he'd heard that some people from the department supposedly brought a witch out there. Though Parcell himself processed, "I know nothing about it." The Union County Prosecutor's Office, facing mounting public anxiety, did not dismiss the occult theory outright, at least not initially. The Associated Press wire stories about Jeannette's death reported that authorities were considering a link to a coven or witchcraft assembly in the area. And indeed, the initial scene descriptions gave them reason to wonder. One Springfield officer's report noted, locks around the head of the body, down the right side, and a small branch under both feet. Almost as if the corpse had been deliberately arranged or framed. It was enough to warrant attention, yet it's important to note that beyond the suggestive positioning of sticks and logs, no overtly satanic symbols, no pentagrams, no occult markings were actually observed on site at the time. Some townsfolk would later claim Jeannette's remains were found at the centre of a makeshift pentagram and surrounded by mutilated animals, but law enforcement flatly denied those specific claims. The more dramatic details seem to be a product of imagination and rumour, growing with each retelling. Nevertheless, the witchcraft narrative took on a life of its own. Local clergy like Rev Tate spoke of devil disciples at large, and some newspapers eagerly ran with that angle. The idea that Jeannette might have been the victim of ritual sacrifice tapped into a vein of cultural fear of the occult explosion of the late 60s and early 70s. Only a few years earlier, movies like Rosemary's Baby and the Manson family murders had thrust satanic imagery and cult fears into the public consciousness. Now here was a real local tragedy onto which people could project those fears. In Springfield, a well-to-do suburban town not accustomed to grisly crime, parents began locking their doors at night and forbidding their kids from wandering the wooded trails. Halloween that year was a tense one. The usual light-hearted ghost stories were replaced with anxious gossip about black masses in the reservation and a witch cult lurking somewhere in Union County. Lost amid the sensationalism was the simple, awful fact that a young girl was dead under unexplained circumstances. As one modern commentator put it, the story that spread was full occult ritual scene. And even though law enforcement denied this, the story was already out there growing legs, running through the community like wildfire. The focus of the case has shifted from standard police work to almost a supernatural witch hunt in the public imagination. Behind the scenes, detectives still had to consider earthly possibilities, even as the press and some officers combed the devil's teeth for hexes and black candles. Others in law enforcement pursued conventional leads. One tip pointed to a local drifter nicknamed Red, a 46-year-old man living in a shack in the woods, not far from where Jeannette was found. Red had reportedly fled his makeshift campsite shortly after Jeannette went missing, which made him a person of interest. That lead initially looked promising, so much so that in January 1973, the Union County's prosecutor's office put out a bulletin seeking this transient for questioning. Investigators eventually tracked down Red in another state and interrogated him. In the end, however, they determined he had nothing to do with Jeannette's death. He was cleared of suspicion, leaving the case once again without a clear suspect. Others hinted that Jeannette might have died at a party from a drug overdose, and that panicked teenagers staged the spooky scene to hide the truth. But Jeannette's loved ones vehemently rejected the drug rumours, and the evidence backed them up. Her autopsy found no trace of needle marks or lethal drugs, and no paraphernalia nearby. The medical examiner himself went on record to say he saw no indication of an overdose. If anything, he leaned toward the strangulation theory. In short, none of the conventional explanations, nor the bizarre occult ones, could be proven, and the investigation was stalling. As the months turned into years, Jeannette DePalma's case went cold. By 1973, without new evidence or witnesses, active detective work slowed. The sensational headlines eventually faded from the newspapers, but the case was never officially closed. It remained in a strange limbo, not ruled a homicide, yet deeply suspicious. For the DePalma family, the lack of answers was agonizing. They were a large religious family. Jeannette was one of 8 children, and by all accounts, she had been a sweet, friendly girl who took her faith seriously. Now they not only bore the grief of her loss, but also the sting of wild rumours swirling around her name. Springfield's teens would trade ghost stories about Jeannette's death for decades to come. It became a piece of local lore to scare newcomers, a cautionary tale of the devil worshippers in the woods. But for Jeannette's parents and siblings, it was no legend. It was the very real tragedy of a daughter who never came home. Over 20 years, Jeannette's case languished in obscurity, except in the whispers of Springfield. Then, in the late 1990s, a strange twist of fate revived public interest in the mystery. In 1997, the editors of Weird New Jersey, a magazine devoted to New Jersey folklore and unsolved oddities, received an anonymous letter about the Old Devil's Teeth death. The correspondent hinted at police cover-ups and occult angles, claiming to have inside knowledge of the case. Intrigued, Weird NJ co-founder Mark Moran decided to dig deeper. What he found only raised more questions. The original Springfield police case file on Jeannette DePalma had disappeared. When Moran inquired with the police department, he was told that years earlier the files had been destroyed, supposedly wiped out in a flooding incident that had damaged the evidence room. Some reports cite Hurricane Floyd in 1999 as the flood that ruined many records. It's unclear if Jeannette's files were truly lost or simply misplaced, but the Springfield PD maintained they no longer had them. This revelation fueled suspicions among conspiracy-minded locals that something was amiss, though it could just as easily have been bureaucratic mishap or poor record-keeping. The Union County Prosecutor's Office did note, however, that they retained copies of at least parts of the case file. In any event, Moran's investigation was hitting frustrating dead ends. He did uncover one astonishing lapse. Jeannette's purse, which she had taken with her the day she vanished, was apparently recovered near her body, yet a retired officer admitted that the purse was never entered into evidence. Whatever clues it might have held, a note, a phone number, DNA traces, were potentially lost because proper procedure wasn't followed. Discoveries like these painted a picture of significant failure in the original investigation, whether by accident or intent. Moran chronicled these findings in Weird New Jersey magazine, writing a series of articles about Jeannette's case in the early 2000s. The response was overwhelming. Readers wrote in with their own memories and theories, and Jeannette's long-dormant story received new attention. Among those captivated by the case was Jesse P. Pollock, a true crime author and correspondent for Weird NJ. Pollock teamed with Moran, and together they spent years interviewing witnesses, tracking down retired cops, and scouring archives for any scrap of information on Jeannette's unsolved death. In 2015, they published a comprehensive book titled Death on Devil's Teeth: The Strange Murder That Shocked Suburban New Jersey, which became the definitive account of the case. The book laid out multiple theories, from the long-rumoured occult murder to the possibility of a serial killer stalking the area, to even hints of police corruption, but it conceded that no single answer had yet emerged. Pollock and Moran did reveal some startling connections and leads. They pointed out parallels to other unsolved murders of young women in New Jersey in the early 1970s, raising the possibility that a single predator might have been responsible. They also documented how the legend of Jeannette's witchcraft death snowballed over time, despite zero hard evidence, potentially distracting from more plausible leads. As the new investigators delved deeper, they even encountered an infamous name, Richard Cottingham, better known as the Torso Killer, a convicted New Jersey serial killer whose crimes in the late 1960s and early 1970s included strangling and mutilating several young women. Cottingham was active in the region at the time Jeannette disappeared, and his known modus operandi, targeting women and strangling them, fits one of the few plausible scenarios in Jeannette's case. In 2021, in a bizarre development, Cottingham, still alive in prison, made a series of cryptic written statements to journalist Jesse Pollock. He alluded to having abducted and killed a girl while she was hitchhiking in New Jersey in 1972, implying that this victim could have been Jeannette DePalma. Cottingham agreed to speak with Union County investigators about the case, and Pollock forwarded the correspondence to the prosecutor's office. This raised hopes that a long-awaited breakthrough might be near, that perhaps the notorious serial killer was about to confess to Jeannette's murder. But as of the latest updates, authorities have not announced any confirmation or charges stemming from Cottingham's claims. Whether his hints were genuine or just the boastful ramblings of a notorious killer seeking attention remains unknown. Still, the possibility added a new twist to Jeannette's story. After decades of focusing on cults and covens, investigators now had to consider that a lone predator, not the devil, might have been responsible all along. The most decisive development came from dogged persistence on the part of Pollock, Moran, and Jeannette's advocates. In 2019, nearly 47 years after Jeannette's death, the Union County Prosecutor's Office finally released a trove of long-hidden case files and photographs to the researchers and to a journalist from New Jersey Advance Media. These crime scene photographs, revealed to the public for the first time, effectively debunked the decades-old tales of occult rituals. The images showed Jeannette's body resting amid a tangle of brush and leaves on the cliff. Face down, one arm draped over a fallen tree branch. Yes, there were sticks and logs present, as one would expect on a wooded hilltop, but none were arranged in any clear symbolic shape. In one photo, a few branches lay crossed near her head, but as a forensic expert noted, they do not appear to be arranged in a purposeful way. Another photo showed a rough circle of stones around the body, which had been mentioned in some reports. But investigators now believe it was nothing more than the natural jumble of the rocky terrain. There were no twig crosses, no pentagrams, no evidence of animal sacrifice visible anywhere. I can't find any sign of the occult or any symbolism in the jumble of brush, said historian Jason Coy, who had been consulted on the case. It suggests that investigators, looking for something sinister, saw patterns that weren't there. In other words, the human tendency to connect dots had turned random fallen branches into imagined crosses and coffins. Coy noted that memory and rumour likely amplified the spookiest interpretation. In someone's memory, if they are influenced by the idea that something could be occult, they remember things that way. A sketch of the scene drawn from witness recollections was laden with crosses, but the photographs starkly contradicted that embellished picture. These revelations were a long time coming. For nearly half a century, Jeannette DePalma's name had been tied to talk of witchcraft, and now at last the record was set straight. As author Jessie Pollock said upon seeing the evidence, the biggest thing we know is this is 100% not an occult killing. The exhaustive review of the case file left no indication of ritual anything. No cult, no coven, no black magic behind Jeannette's death. It was a sobering moment. The dark legend that had made Jeannette's case famous or infamous in New Jersey law was largely a myth. And that realization came with anger too, of the obsession with witchcraft distracted from real investigative leads back in 1972. Many believe it did. Valuable time and resources were spent chasing shadows in cemeteries and interviewing self-described witches, instead of treating Jeannette's death as one would a typical homicide. As Pollock and Moran pointed out, the mythos may have allowed a very real killer to escape scrutiny. Now that the spell was essentially broken, the devil's teeth held no supernatural secrets after all. The focus of Jeannette's case could finally return to hard evidence and real suspects. In the wake of the 2019-21 document releases, Jeannette's case gained fresh momentum. Local media ran headlines, noting that police once linked the 1972 death to a satanic ritual, but newly revealed photos showed otherwise. The community of Springfield, too, was galvanized by the truth. Jeannette's surviving family members and supporters began pushing harder than ever for justice. If the cause of death was never determined due to decomposition, many argued, then it was time to apply modern forensic techniques that weren't available in 1972. Edward Salzanzo, a Springfield resident who never knew Jeannette but became a chief advocate for her case, petitioned authorities to reopen the investigation. Salzanzo, now in his 50s, had spent years researching Jeannette's story and even co-ran a Justice for Jeannette DePalma advocacy group. In 2019, Salzanzo took the extraordinary step of filing a lawsuit to compel the Union County Prosecutor's Office to conduct new DNA tests on Jeannette's clothing and other evidence. He believed that advanced DNA technology might detect genetic traces from skin cells, hair, or bodily fluids of a perpetrator that were impossible to analyse in the 1970s. The case garnered significant attention. After all, So many cold cases from the past have been solved in recent years through DNA matches. But a judge ultimately quashed Salzanzo's lawsuit, ruling that a private citizen could not dictate law enforcement investigative actions. The setback was frustrating for those desperate for progress, but it did little to dampen their resolve. Salzano continued to lobby behind the scenes, and he pointed out that some of the physical evidence might have been damaged or lost over time. Indeed, some of Jeannette's clothing was reportedly destroyed in a 1990s flood. Still, he urged that whatever remained, including Jeannette's fingernail scrapings taken in 1972, could be tested with the latest methods. We need to establish a cause of death by making the X-rays public and do advanced DNA testing, Salzano told reporters. One obstacle, Salzano and others note, is bureaucratic. Jeannette's case, to this day, is not officially labelled a homicide. As Springfield's current police chief, John Cook, explained, it's still an active case of a suspicious death, as there has not been any evidence as of yet to be able to officially rule it a homicide. In other words, despite nearly everyone's belief that Jeannette was murdered, the unresolved cause of death leaves the case in a nebulous category. Investigators often prioritise clear-cut homicides for retesting and cold case funding. A suspicious death may not get the same resources. Jeannette's advocates have therefore begun campaigning to have her death certificate and case status changed to homicide. The major reason her murder cannot be investigated and solved is there is no determined cause of death, so her case is still ruled a suspicious death, Salzano said in an interview. This horrible murder will never be solved until this first step is taken. The DePalma family and supporters have circulated petitions and held public vigils to this effect. On the 50th anniversary of Jeannette's disappearance in August 2022, a prayer vigil was held on the steps of the Springfield Municipal Building, where ministers and citizens called for action and remembered Jeannette not as a victim of some phantom cult, but as a beloved young woman who was taken from them. In August 2023, marking 51 years, a memorial service at Evangel Church, the family's church, honoured Jeannette's memory and underscored the community's belief that her death was a deliberate crime, not an accident. The message in all these efforts has been clear. Jeannette will not be forgotten, and those who care about her will not stop seeking the truth. Encouragingly, local authorities seem receptive. Springfield's Deputy Mayor, Chris Webber, himself a retired police detective, has been among those advocating for a renewed probe. Webber has spoken with Chief Cook after bringing in a fresh set of eyes to review all evidence and tips one more time. I don't think this was the perfect crime, Webber said in 2022, expressing optimism that somewhere, something, some connection is out there waiting to be found that will be the break in the case. The Union County Prosecutor's Office also insists that the file remains open and that they never closed the case. They continued to encourage anyone with information, even after all these years, to come forward. It's possible that as witnesses age or relationships change, new testimony could emerge. There's also hope that modern forensic databases, like national DNA or fingerprint indices, might one day match an item of evidence from Jeannette's case if retested. while the road to answers has been long and fraught with detours, there is more momentum now than perhaps ever before. 53 years have now passed since the day Jeannette DePalma left her house with plans to see a friend, never to return. The world has changed immeasurably in that time, but in Springfield, the name Jeannette still evokes a palpable sadness and a sense of unfinished business. Those who knew her recall a vibrant, compassionate girl who was deeply caring towards others. Someone who might well have offered a ride or a kind word even to strangers in need. She was planning for her future. She had hoped to attend Bible college after high school and was the sweet, loving heart of a large family. It's important to remember Jeannette as a person beyond the headlines and morbid folklore. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend. In all the sensational talk of witches and killers, that simple fact was sometimes lost. A 16-year-old girl's life was cut short, and her family never saw justice or closure.
Tonight's meal, tilapia surprise with boiled cabbage. Begin cooking steps 1 through 50 now.
Are you kidding me? Making dinner shouldn't feel like doing a 1,000-piece puzzle. With Blue Apron's new one-pan assemble and bake meals, the hard part's already done. Pre-chopped ingredients, zero stress. Just assemble, bake, and enjoy. No complicated steps, no mountain of dishes. Try Assemble and Bake today. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Now, I've seen some of these photographs in a documentary, and it doesn't look at all like she was led in a coffin. I mean, the photographs that I have seen, you can obviously see her body, and I'm really thankful for that, because I've noticed in some documentaries lately, they're showing the bodies, and it's just like, please, we don't need to see that. It's really disrespectful. I think it is anyway. It's just, it doesn't need to be done. We can all imagine, it just, enough said, before I start ranting. But because you can imagine at the time, and for those of you who may remember it was crazy, wasn't it, by the sound of it? I mean, I was just a baby. But what crazy times that people instantly looked to something like this and went, yeah, it was a cult. It was a satanic cult. It's very reminiscent of the witch trials to me. And we're at that kind of stage now where we look to something else to blame for everything that's going wrong, whether that's supernatural, whether that's our politicians or people of a different background to us. It's all gone. We've all gone backwards, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, one to ponder on. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll catch you again tomorrow with Toby for a general Whispering Woods episode. Take care, everyone.
This holiday, give the gift that says, let's cancel plans and just lounge. MeUndies has dropped their new holiday collection, and it's made from maximum cozy. We're talking soft as snow ultramodal fabric, festive prints, and loungewear so comfy your couch might get jealous. Onesies, hoodies, joggers, even delightfully quirky holiday designs. You're welcome. Knock out all your holiday gifting needs with deals up to 60% off at MeUndies.com/ACAST. Enter promo code ACAST. That's MeUndies.com/ACAST. Code ACAST.
Hi, this is Knox from the Popcast with Knox and Jamie. And maybe like us at the Popcast, you also know people who have been smokers or vapors. And Zyn is the one product it seems like everyone is talking about. Because there are many good reasons to make a change to Zyn nicotine pouches. Reasons like Zyn nicotine pouches are still America's #1 choice for smoke-free, hands-free nicotine satisfaction. And you can choose between 10 varieties, each variety available in either 3 or 6 milligrams. Check out Zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
You know what's faster than your paycheck? Literally everything. It's time to get your pay up to speed. With Earnin, you can access your pay as you work instead of waiting days and weeks for a paycheck. Get up to $150 a day with a max of $750 between paydays. No interest, no credit checks, and no mandatory fees. Because, hey, it's your money. Download the Earnin app now to get it and join millions of people making any day payday. That's EARNIN. Earnin is not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors available in select states. Expedited transfer is available for a fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details.